The Guided Goals podcast gives you the tools, direction, and resources you need to pursue your passion project. I'm Debra Eckerling, Project Catalyst, and this is the Guided Goals podcast. Our guest today is Michael Laskin, and we're going to talk about authenticity. Michael is a professional actor for 40 years and director, producer, and teacher. He is also author of The Authentic Actor. Welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Deborah.
And so you wrote a book called The Authentic Actor.
Yes, I did.
And tell us a little bit more about the book.
The message of the book is, acting is an endeavor about doing. It's about the doing of things. And the most successful actors that I've come across, particularly in film and television, were more about being than doing. They were more about like their personal, they resonate personally in a way that dominates the scene, the material. There's something about their personal presence. And nobody was teaching that. Not that you can teach that, you can't teach that, but you can open the door and say, that's where you go, right over there. And so I decided, very briefly, the way I look at it is if your creative life is a blank sheet of paper and you got a line down the middle, you have two columns. One column is all the things you can do, all your accumulated skills, and the other column is who you are when you walk in the room. The who you are often trumps what you can do in the professional world. And the personal, when you met me, when I met you, even though Skype, very quickly we have a very quick blink of an eye feeling about somebody. It's not, I have a quote in my book, which I'm actually proud of. I can't believe I even made it up because I think it's so good. It's not show business, it's human business. And it's really true. You meet somebody and you instantly, that's the way it is on film. When you see an actor come into a scene, you instantly have a response as you would if that actor walked into the room to meet you. So you can't teach that, but you can curate that a little bit. And I didn't see most of the acting teaching is mired in old dogma that's 70, 80 years old, all this old stuff, which was great at the time, but it's increasingly irrelevant. And I thought there would be a new way forward. Not that it's all about that. You have to have the skills and you have to have the talent, but it has to be married to a strong sense of identity. And that's kind of what the book's about.
Well, and you caught the acting bug early?
It's a bug. Yeah, you do catch it. It's like a bug. You have to lay down and you get sick and you stay in bed. And yes, I did. I grew up in the Midwest, as you and I shared. And it's just it's what I always wanted to do. And I was quite good at it. And had a great deal of success early on and just kept doing it. And I kept thinking, well, this is going to eventually not work. And it always worked. So when I teach, I'm not in the discouragement business because everyone always says, oh, just tell them it's terrible, don't do it, Well, nobody could have convinced me of that. So I think that's like spreading a cold. I don't really think it's very productive. But I do see people who are immediately present. And that's just how they are. They're born that way, and some who need to work on that.
Okay,
Need to work on that.
so for people who aren't born present, are there things that they
Mm-hmm.
can do to be more authentic themselves or whatever
Yes,
word we
yeah.
want to
I
use?
have I have an exercise that I do that I made up that I think is very effective, and I do it with new students and with new clients that I meet sometimes. I always say, bring me some. If you're a student of acting, I say, bring me something that you're great in, that you've had some success with. Come in and do a piece, a monologue or a scene or whatever. I want to see where your talent sits. That's one thing. The other thing I have them do, which relates to your specific question, I said, write something I should get a better name for it, but I call it, this is what I know. It's an exercise. And I said, just write what you know. I said, it's not therapy and I don't need to know the deepest, darkest secrets, but I'd like to know how you see the world around you. What do you know? This is what start every sentence with, this is what I know. I know that you can talk about your cat, you can talk about traffic, you can talk about food, and eventually if you keep writing it, you will ladder up to things that are big, like parents and disappointment and life and ambitions and you name it. So I said, just write. I said, you think you know what you know, but you don't know it until you write it down. So write it down. You'll learn something that you didn't know that you knew previously. And then you have to speak it in front of a room of strangers. Because usually if it's a new person to the class. So I said, the act of writing it down and speaking it is a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. And so once I see when you bring in something that you're good at, let's say a piece of acting, and then I see this is what I know, which is your worldview, then I have the full artist in front of me. And so some people, you get to know more, you get to know a great deal more about who you are as you get older naturally. But for artists, for young actors in particular, you have to jumpstart that process a little bit. And this does work. I've used it lots of times. The irony is, I think that, for instance, film and television acting is an identity-based endeavor. The person with the strongest identity gets the opportunities. The irony is that most of the opportunities in film and television are for people who are 19 or 20 years old. And by definition, they have no idea who they are at that age. So my job is to help them open up without getting into therapy and stuff like that. But you've got to be clear about, who are you? Why should I be interested in anything you have to say? Let's figure out how you see the world around you. And that it does help. And it's some people are already on that road and some people will never be on that road. But that's the road.
So would you say they have to accept that they need to go down that road in order to become better at their craft?
Yeah, I think if they want to be, if I met with a young man yesterday, and I had my new class started at UCLA, and I said, what do you want to be? And he said, well, I want to be that guy who was in that thing, meaning he wants to be an actor who's like been in a bunch of stuff. I said, that's not good enough. I said, you don't want to be that guy in that thing. I said, I've been that guy in that thing. Believe me, it's not that great. What you really want to be is that guy starring in that hit television series or that big movie. That's what you want to be. If you set your ambitions really in the middle, you're just going to get the bottom. So telling them, set your ambitions high. And in order to do that, you have to be present and you have to be, you have to walk in the room and you have to just be memorable. And it's something you can't teach, but it's the more you're in touch with yourself and with what your journey is, the more that comes through. And as I say, some people just have it naturally. It's a struggle. It's not easy because actors sometimes become actors because they want to be somebody else. They're not comfortable being themselves.
Right.
So we have that issue as well. So there you go.
And this is really for anyone, whether you're an actor, you're a writer, you're in business. If you want to succeed, you have to get yourself, and that'll give you a leg up, basically.
I think so. I was talking to a friend of mine who coaches lawyers, very successful at it. And he was saying some of the young lawyers he's working with now, because they're millennials, whatever, they're in their mid to late 20s, just graduated from law school, maybe went to a great law school, got a job at a great firm. He said they can't talk because they're doing this all the time.
Right.
They're constantly texting. He said they literally cannot talk. And he said it's like it's a generational thing. Now with actors that age, I don't see that because actors they're always talking. You can't shut them up. But they can't. There is that. My wife was a senior associate dean at the USC Business School, and we were talking about the MBA people, and these are all people with really good hard skills. They really know their analytics, but they can't talk. And the person who's going to succeed is the person who can go into a meeting and make something happen and sell something and create some confidence that they're going to deliver. It's all about confidence, either creating it, sustaining it. All of it is about confidence, and the confidence comes in having personal clarity. Is my armchair opinion.
Okay, and I'm with you on everything pretty much that you've said. Down to when I start working with clients, I have them write their future bio, and I say, do something that's achievable, but a little bit more than that, because maybe it won't happen this year, but it could happen next year or the year after. But I love what you said. You aspire for low, you get low. You aspire for high, you can get close to high.
Yeah, you might get the middle, you might get but you can't. There's no reason in shooting for the middle. just stay home. It's not about you. If you're doing something that requires some personal resonance, whether you're an actor or a writer or a creative person, that's part of if you don't have that, you have to develop it.
So, about these people who can't speak, because I
Mm.
think speaking is a problem, well, not for you or for me, but for a lot of people,
It
they
is.
have trouble articulating. Are there exercises and things people who need to get through that hurdle?
Well, I think that if you're talking about public speaking in particular,
Well, even private speaking, taking business meetings, going to networking
sure.
events, the
I,
whole.
I haven't really worked on that specifically, but I've worked on a number of people. I have a guy who has come to me a few times. He's a very well, I won't say his name, but he's a very well-known guy pardon me, in the film and television world. Older guy, he's about 80. Been in the business his whole life. His parents were quite famous, and he's called upon to speak. And he's just terrible at it. He's not good at all. And by his own admission, he knows. And he has his resting face is kind of a morose looking face. He's got kind of a dark, serious look on his face. And I said, smile a little bit. Just smile a little bit. I said, you're going to feel better and they're going to feel better. And so, that's number one. Number two, what is it you're trying to say? What kind of social situation do you like? He's maybe speaking to 100 people. He said, well, I like to sit at a table, a dinner party, and maybe speak to 8 people. I said, well, then that's what this is then. Then just create that reality for yourself. Let's just pretend that's what this is. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the more perfect it is, it's like a bar mitzvah speech. The little kid gets up and says something perfectly, and everyone kind of applauds, and it's cute because he or she is 13. But it doesn't work that way. We're interested in imperfection.
Mm-hmm.
So we really are as a species. I think it draws us in. So when you do something I said, search for the word a little bit. Don't have all the words. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you need to search for the word, we're interested in that. We're interested in watching you do that. I said, even if you're faking it, even if you know what the word is, but you're pretending you're searching for the word, we're interested in that. So it's just about, I don't know about, business meetings and stuff. And I've been in a lot of those because I used to work as a branding consultant years ago, and I've been in some, Fortune 500 kind of business meetings, which freak me out because they all speak. Mostly they're really bad. They're very bad at. They speak a business speak that is hard to even understand, and yeah. But the ones who are good are the ones who succeed, who are just there with you and talking to you like a human being. You know.
So, if people think that people are just people and you smile like you're having a conversation with whatever, it's half the battle to be able to get in the room and be yourself.
I think it is. It's like I always tell. Like I had a really wonderful bit of work in my acting class last night, and when it started, when the scene started, I knew it was going to be good because they did the same scene last week and it wasn't as good. These are two very, very good actors, and starting is so important. If you don't start right, whether it's in a scene, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's in a personal conversation, it's just like pushing a rock uphill for the rest of it. You have to start right. And sometimes you can't even quantify that. But it's coming in and being present and looking at someone and smiling and shaking their hand and being kind and being interested in them. It's always about being interested in them, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
Yeah,
a really good point
yeah, I think so.
because it's part of that connection.
Exactly. Exactly. If that whole kind of blink of an eye thing that we have that I talk about in my book, it's so true. It's so true. If you make a bad first impression, either purposely or inadvertently, it's very hard to get over that. So, I always tell when actors, for instance, who are in a kind of if you go into an audition room in front of network executives and famous people and big directors and stuff, you're going to win or lose that opportunity in 5 seconds. Before you open your mouth, you're going to win or lose that opportunity. And it's hard to tell people that because it's because most people lose the opportunity. Most people don't get the job. The odds are very long, but you will. And I don't know how to tell you how to come into the room, but your entire life comes into the room with you, whether you like it or not, whether you're happy or not. If you're unhappy but you're masking it and you're pretending to be happy, I'm sorry, it comes into the room with you and people can tell. Maybe not even consciously, but they can read it. They can read it. And if you come in apologizing for yourself and being, I mean, I tend to be self-deprecating, but it's usually with humor and all that. It's just part of it's just being relaxed, and being chill with who you are. But that takes years. I mean, I'm older, and it took me a long time to get to that point. A long time.
So just practice being yourself and you'll get better at it.
No, that sounds simple, but it's true. I mean, if that's the goal, it depends what people's goals are.
Mm-hmm.
With acting, it's very specific, and you have a very specific project, and you have, but that's the work. That's one thing. The work is one thing, but the person is another thing. And it's above my pay grade. I'm not a mental health professional or anything like that, but I recognize it. You can smell it. You just know when someone's together and when they're not. You just know. And it's I always say to young creative artists, I said, it's your job to lead and examine life. I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but it's lead and examine life. Kind of like, and if you have issues and if you have fears, everybody has fears. You got to learn to dance with those a little bit and not be so, not be so stricken by them, because most everything goes away eventually. Most of it works out eventually if you just keep moving down the path,
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been really, really great,
Are we
informative stuff.
done?
Oh, we're almost done. I have to ask you about work-life balance. I mean, you do a lot of different things. Are there certain things that
Right.
you do so you're not always working that you can recommend?
One of the things I always tell creative people, because they're dealing with something that's intangible, I said, do something tangible in your life, whether it's planting a garden, refinishing a chair. Do something that you can point to, say, I did that. Because if you're writing a script, if you're trying to act in a movie, it's all intangible until it's tangible. And most of the time, it's not tangible. Most of the time, you don't get that job, or they're going to buy your script, but then they don't. And so you put in 6 months worth of work and you don't get compensated for it. So find something that's tangible to do with your hands. I think it's really important. I think it connects you to something, because I remember when I was really struggling a bit with this when I was quite a bit younger. I refinished an entire uh, set of furniture, like a big drawer and a couple of chairs. And it took as much time as I wanted with it because I wasn't being paid to do it. I was just doing it because I wanted to do a really good job. And it was fantastic therapy. It was fantastic because you just can point to it and say, yeah, I just did that. Isn't it great? And it's very hard to do that creatively, as you know.
I love the idea of
Yeah,
the
it's
tangible
important.
win. And it helps too if you're always thinking to do things that require a different set of physical and mental skills. So we're going to make that the personal goal this week, is to start a tangible project. Love that.
Good. Good.
Whether it's building or refinishing furniture, planting a garden, I love that. Or even cooking. And then you
Yes.
get to eat. I
And
mean,
then
come
you get to
on.
eat. Come on. It's a win-win.
I think that's good personal goal. And for the professional goal, I'd say write the what I know list. Just sit down and I'm a huge fan of journaling, so
Yeah.
this is a really good, great, immense topic that everybody really should dig into. So
Well, and I also like your thing about, what did you say? Write your biography,
your future bio.
future bio, which is very cool. I mean, it's very aspirational, and I think I also, in the line of this discussion, I always tell people, set some goals and give yourself a timeline. You might not make them, but otherwise it's nebulous. You'll be sitting in the backyard watching the oranges grow, and 5 years will go by. So you need to have goals and timelines and stuff, knowing that it's very likely you won't always meet them. Yeah.
Yes, but if you have some, well, it's guided goals, so we're all about that. So I'm thrilled
Yeah.
that you mentioned it. So we'll make the bonus goal of write a future bio. And the people listening, if you're not writing down your goals, well, then listen to other podcasts that tell you to do that. But it's the reason I do the Guided Goals podcast is everybody has, even if they're living the life that they want, they've got something else that they want to do that they're not giving themselves the time or permission. Or if they've got a day job, they have something that they've always wanted to try. So this is to help people say, okay, I can do it even if it's in little increments and just keep building toward what they want. And you do it when you get to know yourself. Such a good topic too. When you get to know yourself, you're more in line with what you want and need to be doing.
Absolutely. And with the goals, I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in setting goals, and if you don't, you're rudderless. You need to have that, but be realistic about it. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts, Michael?
Well, yeah, I think that, because we're talking about a lot of the same things, you and I think one of the things I say to people, because it's scary to do something creative, it's scary to say I'm going to be a writer or I'm going to be an actor or I'm going to be a musician or whatever it may be. But you have to ask yourself, how would I feel 10 years down the road if I didn't make that effort? If the what ifs, can you live with the what ifs when you're 45 or 50 or whatever? What if I had moved to LA? What if I had what if? And if you don't do them, if you do them and you don't succeed or life takes you in a different path, that's fine. You did it. You did it. You can say you did it and you tried and it wasn't for you or whatever. But if you don't try and if you don't put it forward to really be to follow what you want to follow, rather than doing what you think you're supposed to do, I think that's really important. And if you can live with the what ifs, then you shouldn't do it. But if you can't live with that, then you have to do what you want to do. My son's a writer, very good writer. He's in his 20s, and he struggles with it. And but he's doing great. He's doing absolutely great. But it's like if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. Now is the time.
Absolutely. And a great final thought to end on. Thank you so much. We've been speaking about authenticity with Michael at Laskin. And you can go to guidedgoals.com for links to Michael's sites and other show notes and to learn more about guided goals and how to, get them all set and move forward because you deserve the life you want. So go on out there and go
There
for
you
it.
go.